Matthew 19:3. And the Pharisees came to him, tempting him. Though the Pharisees lay snares for Christ, and cunningly endeavor to impose upon him, yet their malice proves to be highly useful to us, as the Lord knows how to turn, in a wonderful manner, to the advantage of his people all the contrivances of wicked men to overthrow sound doctrine. For, by means of this occurrence, a question arising out of the liberty of divorce was settled, and a fixed law was laid down as to the sacred and indissoluble bond of marriage. The occasion of this quibbling was, that the reply, in whatever way it were given, could not, as they thought, fail to be offensive. They ask, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any cause whatever? If Christ reply in the negative, they will exclaim that he wickedly abolishes the law, and if in the affirmative, they will give out that he is not a prophet of God, but rather a pander, who lends such countenance to the lust of men. Such were the calculations which they had made in their own minds, but the Son of God, who knew how to take the wise in their own craftiness, Job 5:13, disappointed them, sternly opposing unlawful divorces, and at the same time showing that he brings forward nothing which is inconsistent with the law. For he includes the whole question under two heads, that the order of creation ought to serve for a law, that the husband should maintain conjugal fidelity during the whole of life, and that divorces were permitted, not because they were lawful, but because Moses had to deal with a rebellious and intractable nation. 4. Have you not read? Christ does not indeed reply directly to what was asked, but he fully meets the question which was proposed, just as if a person now interrogated about the Mass were to explain faithfully the mystery of the Holy Supper, and at length to conclude that they are guilty of sacrilege and forgery who venture either to add or to take away anything from the pure institution of the Lord. He would plainly overturn the pretended sacrifice of the Mass. Now Christ assumes as an admitted principle, that at the beginning God joined the male to the female, so that the two made an entire man, and therefore he who divorces his wife tears from him, as it were, the half of himself. But nature does not allow any man to tear in pieces his own body. He adds another argument drawn from the less to the greater. The bond of marriage is more sacred than that which binds children to their parents. But piety binds children to their parents by a link which cannot be broken. Much less then can the husband renounce his wife. Hence it follows, that a chain which God made is burst asunder, if the husband divorce his wife. Now the meaning of the words is this: God, who created the human race, made them male and female, so that every man might be satisfied with his own wife, and might not desire more. For he insists on the number 2, as the prophet Malachi, 2:15, when he remonstrates against polygamy, employs the same argument, that God, whose Spirit was so abundant that he had it in his power to create more, yet made but one man, that is, such a man as Christ here describes. And thus from the order of creation is proved the inviolable union of one husband with one wife. If it be objected, that in this way it will not be lawful, after the first wife is dead, to take another, the reply is easy, that not only is the bond dissolved by death, but the second wife is substituted by God in the room of the first, as if she had been one and the same woman. 5. Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother. It is uncertain whether Moses represents Adam or God as speaking these words, but it is of little consequence to the present passage which of these meanings you choose, for it was enough to quote the decision which God had pronounced, though it might have been uttered by the mouth of Adam. Now he who marries a wife is not commanded absolutely to leave his father, for God would contradict himself, if by marriage he set aside those duties which he enjoins on children towards their parents, but when a comparison is made between the claims, the wife is preferred to the father and mother. But if any man abandon his father, and shake off the yoke by which he is bound, no man will own such a monster, much less will he be at liberty to dissolve a marriage. And the two shall be one flesh. This expression condemns polygamy not less than it condemns unrestrained liberty in divorcing wives, for, if the mutual union of two persons was consecrated by the Lord, the mixture of 3 or 4 persons is unauthorized. But Christ, as I stated a little ago, applies it in a different manner to his purpose, namely, to show that whoever divorces his wife tears himself in pieces, because such is the force of holy marriage, that the husband and wife become one man. For it was not the design of Christ to introduce the impure and filthy speculation of Plato, but he spoke with reverence of the order which God has established. Let the husband and wife, therefore, live together in such a manner, that each shall cherish the other in the same manner as if they were the half of themselves. Let the husband rule, so as to be the head, and not the tyrant, of his wife, and let the woman, on the other hand, yield modestly to his commands. 6. What God therefore hath joined. By this sentence Christ restrains the caprice of husbands, that they may not, by divorcing their wives, burst asunder the sacred knot. And as he declares that it is not in the power of the husband to dissolve the marriage, so likewise he forbids all others to confirm by their authority unlawful divorces, for the magistrate abuses his power when he grants permission to the husband to divorce his wife. But the object which Christ had directly in view was, that every man should sacredly observe the promise which he has given, and that those who are tempted, by wantonness or wicked dispositions, to divorce, may reflect thus with themselves, Who art thou that allowest thyself to burst asunder what God hath joined? But this doctrine may be still farther extended. The Papists, contriving for us a church separated from Christ the head, leave us an imperfect and mutilated body. In the Holy Supper, Christ joined the bread and the wine, but they have dared to withhold from all the people the use of the cup. To these diabolical corruptions we shall be at liberty to oppose these words, What God hath joined let not man separate.